Well, hello there, everybody. So welcome back, because right now, in this video, I'm going to show you how the user can log in without entering their email address and password every time when logging into the application. So in other words, once that user enters their email address and password, the application is not going to ask for the email and password again until they log out, let's say. Because you know what? What a real pain, right? Users don't want to always have to enter passwords in emails when they're entering the application every single time, especially if it's several times a day or whatever. So anyway, facilitating the login process will increase your user's experience. I know it increases mine. So I want to show you how this system works when you view it through the application before we write it out, okay? So I do want to explain that some virtual devices may have some problems with authentication. So if you experience any of those problems with a virtual device, and if your code is actually correct, it really is useful to just go ahead and try it out on the real device. So I want to open up the demo project. Now, since this is the first attempt to open this application, it's going to ask me for an email address and password. So I enter email address and password with the user information that I created before. Click sign in. And the application gets launched. Great. So now I'll just close the application. Oh, but wait, I do want to open it again. And okay, so this time I go directly to the main activity. Didn't have to write in an email and password to log in again. All right, so when the user logs in using this device until the user signs out from the application, they're not going to be asked to enter that user email address and password again, right? So I do want to sign out though. So I wrote the sign out code in this application so that when I click on the sign out option under the options menu, it's going to log it out, okay? So in other words, when I click the sign out here, the user will log out of Firebase. So click sign out, user's logged out. So again, the sign in activity is open, all right? So I'll close the application again, and let's see if it's going to ask for email and password when I open it up again. So I'll open it up and hey, there it is. It now asks for an email address and password. Cool. So I do want to show you how to add this feature into your application. So in fact, I want to show both remembering if the user was already logged in and how to log out from the application. Because it's that logging out of the application, well, that can be as important as logging in, don't you think? Now, if the user doesn't actually exit from the application, the user's personal data can be stolen. Got to keep that in mind. So if it's like a bank application or something, that could have some serious side effects that you want to avoid. So you got to be very careful about these kinds of issues when you're developing an app. Just saying. Hopefully you already know that, but I do feel the responsibility to pass that info on in case you're just getting tuned in. All right, let's just get to developing because that's what we're here for. Now, of course, the process that we're doing is very important. It is very easy to do using Firebase. So we've already said that one of the most important features of Firebase is making server-based transactions easy. But I do want to, remind you of the level of responsibility that you have. So first, let's get to know the user while logging in. So we'll do this in the login activity. So that is this activity where the email address and password are entered. Let's have a look at the login activity, in fact. So we created the Firebase login function here. And hopefully you remember the lifecycle functions in Android. There was an onStart function in Android Studio. So we can write the necessary code in this function. So I'll override the onStart function. I'll do the user recognition process here. So here I create an object from the Firebase user class. Val user, I name this object user. So I'm writing val user equals auth.current user. So you remember, right, we created an object from the Firebase auth class above. So now we get the user information using this object. Now, once the user enters the mail and password, Firebase auth keeps the user's information until the user logs out. So we can receive this information from Firebase while the application is opening. Now, if the user has already logged in, the user object will have a value. Now, when we check this user object with an if statement, so I'll just go ahead and write if the user not equals null, that is the actions to be taken if the user is already logged in. But let's think about it. What is the action that we're going to do? Open the main activity without opening the login page, right? So the page where the email and password will be entered is the login page. So the user will be checked in the onStart method. If the user has a value, this page just won't open. The main activity page will open, right? So we can open the main activity page using intent. Very cool. So I can copy the intent here, paste it into the if statement. See, that way the user recognition process has been completed. Now, let's sign out. So signing out in the main activity, I'll add another menu item into the options menu layout. So I open menu delete all.xml. I will add a menu item in the component tree. So let's give an ID to this item, and the ID can be sign out, right? And give it a title, so the title can also be sign out. That's fine. So I want to change the show as action property of the delete icon because I want to show 3 dots on the action bar. So when the user clicks the 3 dots on the action bar, the options will be shown. Okay, so for this reason, I will uncheck the always and with text options of the delete icon. Okay, so now the menu layout is ready. So why don't we go ahead and define this sign out item in the main activity. Now you do remember, right, we override the onCreateOptions menu and the onOptions item selected. So these are the functions in the main activity we're overriding. So in the onCreateOptions menu function, we inflated the menu design. And in the onOptions item selected function, we created an if statement. And inside the if statement, we show the dialog message to the user to delete all users at once. Okay. Now that we're up to speed, we will now write the necessary codes for the sign out process in here. So I'll create another else if statement, else if item.itemID equal to r.id.signout, and we can now log out the user from the app. I'll write Firebase auth.getInstance.signout for this process. So the user will exit from Firebase and from the app just with this code. But of course, guess what? Not quite enough. All right, we're not there yet, but that's okay. We got to just think out the process a little bit more. So when the user logs out, this page must close, and the login page where the email address and password will be entered must be opened up again. So we'll do that using intent. Val intent equals intent this at main activity. Login activity :class.java. And in the next line, I write start activity intent. And I'll also call the finish function to close the page. Okay, So now the sign out process is complete. Let's go ahead and run it and check it out. All right, so there the application opens. And since the application opens for the first time, it'll ask for email and password. So I'll just enter the email and password. Clicking sign in, made the login. Now I'll close the application. Open it up again. So this time it doesn't ask for email and password. Cool. So let's just press the sign out button and exit. And there you go. It returns to the login page. Well done, well done. So we've closed it out. But in the next video, I want to show you how to add a forgotten password option. Important as well. So I'll see you in the next video.